Well, she's a Golden Globe and Emmy Award-winning television writer and producer. And her credits include shows like Sex and the City, Modern Family, Everybody Loves Raymond, and Coach. Now, Cindy Chupack is out with a memoir, The Longest Date, a hilarious, honest, and heartbreaking look at what marriage is really like. And guess what? There's already a Fox TV pilot in the works to create a comedy based on this book. And we are so happy to welcome Cindy to Delmarva Life today. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. So I got to ask
Thank you for having me.
Right from the get-go, what is it like to write for some of the most popular TV shows?
Well, I wrote for a long time on shows that no one had heard of, so it's better to write for the popular ones. And also, they're popular because they've got such good casts, and you know, they were amazingly constructed with really funny relationships. So they're a pleasure. I mean, those were all those shows you mentioned were a pleasure to write, and especially Sex and the City, because I was single at the time, and it was the first time I'd been on a show that was really about what I was going through. So I loved writing that. Oh,
I bet that was a lot of fun. So what inspired you to make the transition to writing a memoir?
Well, I studied journalism, and I was not great at hard news, but I kind of realized I liked putting a little more of myself into pieces. So pretty early on, I started writing comic essays, which is basically what this book is, a collection of comic essays about marriage. And it's something that I've always kind of loved to do on the side. When you write television, you put your own experiences into the characters and into the storylines, but and that can be great because they can do such a better job with those experiences than you did. You can sort of give yourself a better ending. But in a comic essay, I'm really trying to say what happened and how I felt about it, and it's, you know, really my story and kind of the raw material of what I use for television. So it's still very fun for me to write that way.
Right.
And feels honest and feels like I'm really communicating with my audience.
Now let's talk about your story. It's quite a story, and it starts after you found out that your first husband was gay. How did that affect you?
Well, you know, I don't know if it felt that different than anyone whose marriage falls apart. You just feel like a failure, and like for me it was also a bit of like, how did I not know but he didn't know? And on my website, cindychupack.com, I've got a moth story I told. There's a moth kind of spoken word storytelling organization, and I did a piece about when he told me he might be gay, and it was right before my 10-year high school reunion, and we still went home and stayed with my parents, and that's a whole story in and of itself. And it's really just the beginning of this book, which is that I was divorced pretty young and single for a long time, and then finally met the man I was going to marry when I was 38, and we got married at 40. So then having a kid was a little more challenging because we were a bit older, and so it was sort of everything, all the adjustments you go through when you really do know who you are and what you want, and you're a fully formed person and you meet a fully formed person, and then you have to figure out how to combine your lives.
Right,
That's really what the book was about.
And you're very open about you and Ian trying to conceive. Do you have any advice to other people who may be going through that same thing right now?
Well, I hope the book is comforting, because it's hard to know what to say. It depends where you are in the journey. I mean, I would say to avoid advice, really, and just follow your heart and know that you will be able to complete your family one way or another. But I think when you're in the middle of it, even though you have maybe a plan B and a plan C, it's very hard to move on to those plans. Like at each juncture, you have to allow yourself to kind of mourn the end of one way you thought it was going to work and start up in another way. And so to really just be honest with your partner and yourself about what you're ready for and what you think you can handle, and kind of never say never, because of course, you know, we ended up, well, I don't want to give away the end of the book, but anyway, it ended up working out for us, and we ended up adopting, and I couldn't love her more. I mean, of course.
You adopted little Olivia.
Yes.
So tell us briefly, how has that changed you?
I think it's, you know, I have a quote in the book, a friend, Winnie Holtzman, who wrote Wicked, and she created My So-Called Life. She said, isn't it great to be a mom? Doesn't it make you a better person? You know, not everyone needs to become a mom to be a better person, but I did, and I thought, yeah, I did too.
Aww.
So it has made me much more just really a citizen of the world. I feel so much more in tune with everyone around me because everybody either has parents or is a parent, or and just it's a whole different kind of way to see the world all over again through a kid's eyes.
Absolutely.
So I know people who don't have kids. It's not like I feel like it has to be the be all end all, but for us it was a long time waiting, and it's been really gratifying to have her now.
Looks like you found your happily ever after. To sum it up for us, do you have any secrets to a happy marriage?
Well, it's funny you say happily ever after, because I put in my book that that's the epitome of lazy writing. Every time I feel like, and they lived happily ever after, there's so much more to the story. So I'm sure there's also a book about being a parent coming someday from me, because every time I think, I've finally gotten over this hurdle, there's these new things. But what I do feel is I hope this book opens up the dialogue, because I think there's so much written for single women, and there's so much about being single and that quest to find your love, and then it's like, you're married, you're done, congratulations, and it's not, you're not done. The story continues, and there's humor and heartbreak, and I hope that this book causes other married women to be a little bit more open about what's hard and also what's great, but feel like you can talk about it. You don't have to close ranks because you're married.
All right, communication is key. Thank you so much, Cindy Chupack, and congratulations. Can't wait to see that TV show. The book is called The Longest Date, Life as a Wife. And to read more about Cindy or for more information on her new book, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab. And still ahead, we've been talking this week about getting into shape. We're going to show you a few gadgets that can help with that, and some of the hottest gadgets at the Consumer Electronics Show are all about sound. We'll show you those. Delmarva Life will be right back.